Hello, and welcome to the BFA Baby podcast. Before we start, if you're watching on YouTube, look at the bows in my hair. I put them in for Halloween, as I'm filming this on Halloween, so happy Halloween. It'll be in the future when you're seeing this. So, happy Halloween. I hope you're having a safe and fun Halloween. But welcome to the BFA Baby podcast. Cheers with a Dr. Pepper. Let's get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is the portrayal of dance in the media and what a real dancer thinks about it. So, a little bit about my backstory if this is the first time you're tuning in. Hi, I'm Taylor Hartman. I am a sophomore BFA dance performance major at Missouri State University with a double minor, one in advertising and promotion and one in theater arts. Now, I started dancing as a child in little baby ballet, like every Midwest mom puts their kid in baby ballet, but I immediately fell in love with it. That was kind of my place to speak. That was my place to be me. I felt very connected to ballet, and I never stopped. One of my favorite things to say is that I was the little girl that never grew out of her I want to be a ballerina phase. So yeah, I've literally danced my whole life. It's the only thing I've ever done. I've added in things like theater, and I would like to start modeling, and I've been writing, but dance has always been the baseline for me, and I just love creative things. So that's why I started this podcast. So this is a kind of different episode. The past couple have been about getting my BFA, and this one's kind of like a dancer's look into dancing. So it'll be kind of fun and different, and I'm really excited to film this because this is a topic I'm really passionate about, and it is the catalyst of one of my current creative endeavors, which, if you've been following along on TikTok, you kind of have an idea of what that is, but I'm excited to talk about that too. So, do I have anything else to preface with? Yes, it is currently, let me check the weather because it's currently 35 degrees in Springfield, Missouri, and last time you heard this, it was a solid 80. Last time you tuned in, it was 80 degrees. So, we're getting pretty chilly. We're getting chilly here in Springfield, but if you're wondering why I am in a tank top, if you're watching on YouTube, that is because they don't have any AC in here so that it's soundproof, but that means the studio I film in gets really hot. So, we're warm. We're in some jeans and some boots. Let me see if I can, we're in some jeans and some boots, but a little mismatched for the weather today. One more update before we get into the conversation about dance in the media. I am currently planning a New York City trip, which is so exciting. I haven't been in over a year, and I have some really fun things planned, so keep a lookout on the TikTok at Tata's Ballet, and then I really want to do a New York podcast episode when I get back, talking about this trip, my past trips, kind of like my future dream of moving there after school. I love New York, and my older sister, shout out Allie, I think you're listening to the podcast, is taking me for a second time. We went my senior year of high school, and my favorite story is that I skipped senior prom to go to New York, and yeah, I'm just really excited to go again. We have a lot of fun things planned, a lot of learning opportunities. I'm so excited. So excited. So, lots of fun things planned. But yeah, let's get into the topic of the day. So, ballet portrayal in the media. Dance as a whole, but a lot of the dance portrayal in the media really focuses on ballet. And I think it's because ballet is, I'm going to open a can of worms with this one. Ballet is both inaccessible and accessible, in which going to see ballet, getting professional ballet training, getting paid a lot to do ballet, these are all very wealthy, inherently nepotism influenced things. The entry-level tier to go see a professional ballet, that's a lot of money. And if you have to travel to go see ballet, and I think that does kind of stem from the history in which ballet did come from the royal courts, and obviously it's not right, but it does kind of stem from that. And as the times have changed, especially coming out of COVID, the biggest thing is that I think ballet has become more accessible. You know, we see Turn It Out with Tyler Peck's free live stream ballet classes. We see ballet on things like Marquee TV, that's that streaming service that's all arts, which I kind of want to try. So I might try and then do a podcast episode or like a YouTube video about it. I do want to try me some Marquee TV. But yeah, you know, so there has, with the rise of technology and especially since COVID when we were all locked down, there has been an increase in accessibility for ballet. But I think before, you know, when ballet was really only reserved for the upper class or like very rarely going as a child and, you know, like getting professional ballet training. You know, ballet has always had this air of exclusivity, which I really don't like about it. This could be a whole other episode. But just to preface this whole episode with, for a lot of the public dancing, the only thing they knew about ballet was from the media. And I totally acknowledge that I was in a privileged position to grow up dancing, to be dancing in a studio, to be in shows, to be pursuing this as a career at a university. You know, I'm in a very privileged position, and I acknowledge and honor that, and that's why I work so hard at my school, because I know that so many people, especially women, I've talked about this before on the podcast, especially women don't really have an opportunity like this, so I know that I'm going to take mine full force and run with it. But all this to say that I do acknowledge my privilege in that, and I acknowledge my ability to be able to dissect what the portrayal of ballet has been like in the media and how that differs. However, you know, I acknowledge that, but I am excited to kind of pull back the smoke and mirrors for the people who maybe the only thing they know about ballet is Black Swan, you know. So yeah, that could be a whole other podcast episode, but I just want to say that it's not incorrect for your only opinion of dance in ballet to be through media, because that's a lot of it, really. Like, that was kind of before, especially before COVID, like that was a lot of the way that people knew it was movies about it, and that's not always the most accurate. So let me take another sip of this Dr. Pepper. So I kind of want to break down this category. I have some notes on my phone as always. I want to break down these categories into pieces of media that I think are good representations of dance, that are okay, but there's some unrealisticness, and then things that are like, this is completely whacked out type unrealistic nonsense. And I think I'm going to kind of jump around. I also have a list of ballet shows and movies like pulled up. So if I am, you know, forgetting something, I can kind of pull it back out. Yeah, so we're going to start in television, I think, because there's less television, like fictional television, about dance. So I kind of want to reach into that and start. The first thing on my list is Breaking Point. Now, if you don't know Breaking Point, this is the IMDb description, because it does better than I could ever say it. So, quoting from IMDb, this reality series takes viewers into elite professional ballet company in Salt Lake City, revealing not only the beauty and grace of dance, but also the competition and intensity that exists within the gritty world of extreme athleticism. Underneath the tutus, tights, and perfect exteriors are tough and determined dancers who must fight through injuries and pain as they pursue the unattainable perfection. Dancers must navigate complicated social politics and make sacrifices while they compete for the best roles. So this is a reality series that was done in 2 or 3 seasons. What does IMDb say? 2 seasons at Ballet West, I believe. And Breaking Point was... it's kind of one of those, like, fever dream memories that I have from childhood. You know, like, I watched it, but I wasn't ever drawn into, like, not drawn. I think I was a little young when it was airing and, like, coming out. But I do remember watching it. I would love to go back and watch it now. I might have to find somewhere to stream it and watch it now. Because I do remember being a hair too young to really grasp onto it. But this was our introduction, at least my introduction to Beckany Sisk. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Beckany Sisk is how I'm gonna say it. And she's an absolute star. I love her. I do remember there's a scene of her dancing a solo role in this show, and it, like, blew me away. So I would put Breaking Point in, like, this is a good representation of ballet, because it is a reality show. You know, you have some real ballet stars in there talking about their experiences. Obviously, is it a little dramatized for TV? Probably. Would I have to go back and watch it to kind of get out of that, like, hazy memory I have of it? Probably. But I think it's probably, what I remember of it, it's a fair representation of ballet. It's a reality show, you know, all good things. And I remember really enjoying it. There was a lot of formative moments for me in there. So, yeah, we'll put it in, like, the good category. Next on this list is Tiny Pretty Things. So for this, I specifically made a note to separate Tiny Pretty Things the show and Tiny Pretty Things the book. Okay, we'll get into books later, but just for the show, Tiny Pretty Things is on Netflix. It is a televised version of the book. Tiny Pretty Things, it's the same name. And this show, I'm gonna put this show in, like, the middle category where, like, there's some things that's real about it, but it's kind of dramatized and a little whacked out. So if you don't know this show, you can watch it on Netflix. It follows a pre-professional ballet training academy, and they, like, all are vying for company contracts, and one of the girls dies. She gets, like, shoved off the roof and dies. And, you know, it kind of is like a murder mystery in that way. They're trying to figure out who did it, because she was, like, the best, you know. And I think that's where it gets a little dramatic, you know, but it gets a little otherworldly, you know. I've been to many high-stakes training environments, and, yeah, crazy things happen, but no one's pushing anyone else off of a roof. You know, there's conversations about, like, in the show of, like, putting glass in point shoes, and, like, I've heard of that happening in real life, but I've never purposely witnessed it. I think it's just kind of an over-dramatization of it all. You know, but there are some good things about Tiny Pretty Things that I really enjoyed. Bette Whitlaw, she was my favorite character in the book. She's my favorite character in the show. There is a bit of a through line in which she, you know, is hiding this injury and is, like, begging her mom, who's, like, very rich and on the board and, you know, has her elbows in everyone's business type beat. You know, she's begging her for painkillers, like, high prescription painkillers, just to get through the show, because it means so much to her. And I totally agree with that. Like, that's, you know, a thing that does happen. We hide things, and we, you know, do so many things to get our bodies to do what we want them to do, even if it's not the best thing for our health long term. And there's a scene of Nevaeh. She's our lead. There's a scene of Nevaeh filling in a blister on her foot with super glue. And then her mom, or her brother, so I think it's her mom, you know, she's like, that's no way to take care of yourself. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, you just gotta kind of do silly things like that. You know, you fill in broken toenails, you fill in blisters with super glue, just kind of that skin barrier covered up, you know. And like, there's, like, little bits of things that have been very, there at least had to have been some research. I do know that some of them are actually dancers. Barton, he played Orin in Tiny Pretty Things, and he is actually a professional dancer. And I believe Kashmir, who plays Bette, is also a professional dancer. So there's definitely influence into the world that, like, are things that really happen. And there's a whole thing with Ramon Costa, and he's this famous director that comes in, and he wants to set this gritty, dark ballet, you know, bringing ballet into the modern age. And, like, yeah, I could say it's pretty realistic, you know. And he's also sleeping with the star of the ballet company, and they're in love, and she's the best. But, like, is she the best? Or is she the best because she's sleeping with the director? You know what I mean? And there's a lot of sex scandal like that, too. You know, like the head of the school is sleeping with the students. And while that does happen in ballet, I'm not going to discredit that at all. It does seem very hypersexualized in this show because, you know, Netflix likes a little sex in their shows. And that always felt a little much to me, and it also felt a little, not in poor taste, but maybe just not fully thought through, because there are serious sex crimes that happen in ballet, especially between, like, someone in higher power and a dancer who historically has less power, in, like, a company or training setting. So I think it's accurate, but there are some things like, you know, the murder mystery, the extreme, like, sex and sexual tension between, like, everyone in the show. You know, I think it's in the middle. There's some good things about it, but it's also kind of been, like, really up, like, lifted up for Netflix. And obviously, yeah, I mean, the book's kind of like that too. The book's also about the murder mystery, sort of. But we'll talk about the book in a bit. So next we have Flesh and Bone, which ran for 1 season, and I remember watching Flesh and Bone because I'm a creature of my craft, you know. I love consuming things about what I do, you know. And I remember watching it on Prime Video, and I'll give you the IMDb description. Here's the IMDb description. After a long career as an acclaimed dancer, Paul Grayson founded the American Ballet Company, and he's determined to make it rank among the world's best artistic institution. The key, he believes, is Claire Robbins, a transcendent ballerina capable of reaching the sublime, but her inner torment and aspirations drive her in compelling, unforeseeable ways, especially when confronted with Paul's ping-pong fits of ebullience and rage. ABC's mercurial leader requires the dancer's abject devotion to an extremely unhealthy degree. Infused by New York's inherent drama, Flesh and Bone is a gritty, complex series that steadfastly explores the dysfunction and glamour of the ballet world. So, yes, I think that a great way to describe Flesh and Bone, and also just ballet media in general, is the dysfunction and the glamour of it all. Because that's an accurate representation of everything that we do, you know. But I think as a society in ballet, you know, we're kind of getting away from that, like, tortured artist archetype. But the tortured artist archetype is always something that will compel people in. And this is one series, I remember watching it. There's a couple things that stood out to me. I'm gonna put it in, like, kind of where Tiny Pretty Things is, where, like, there are things that kind of do happen in the ballet world that exist in this show, but it was also very darkened, very dramatized. It reads more like a Christopher Nolan Batman than like a show about ballet. Not that that's bad, but it's very stylistic and just, like, happens to take place in a ballet company. I didn't not enjoy it, though. I think there are some things that really kind of turned me off from it, though. There is a scene in the very beginning where Claire, the main ballerina, she was walking home, I think, to her apartment, and there was a guy outside. I don't know if he was just, like, a drug dealer, if he was, you know, didn't have a home at the time. Like, I don't know what he was doing, but he was like, "Oh, you're the ballerina. Do you want opioids?" Like, high drugs. And he was, like, dealing drugs to these ballerinas. And not that drug use doesn't prevail in the arts, but it was just kind of, like, right in your face. And, like, yes, it happens, but it's not that out loud, you know? And then there was a scene, it might have also been, no, I think it was a couple episodes in. There was a scene somewhat early on that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which was they're getting ready for class and they're in like the dressing room, and a girl comes out of the bathroom, like the stall, and she's like, does anyone have a pad or a tampon? And this other girl is like, you still get your period. Like, what? I haven't had my period in years. And I remember that really hit me because it's kind of perpetrating this idea that ballerinas don't eat and ballerinas don't take care of themselves so much that their bodies stop functioning how they should. And yes, that does happen. Like, it's a real thing, it's a real problem. But the way that this show just kind of used it as a throwaway comment, like, I remember that really kind of struck me, and I was like, I don't love that. And, yeah, that kind of struck me, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, and it was more about the drama and less about the art, you know. Again, I'm going to put it in the middle, you know, it was really over-dramatized, but there are some things that were good and accurate about it. I do want to take a pause here for a second and talk about, I'm only ranking these based on my experience and my experience watching them. You know, if you love these shows, movies, books, that's awesome. Run away. Don't actually run away, but, like, take that and run. Like, my opinion doesn't change yours. Just, you know, this is just my thoughts on it and my portrayal from a dancer and, like, everything I've experienced. Just a little disclaimer before we move on. The next step. Dude, the next step. Okay. I was a next step kid, okay? And this was, like, a fake, like, a mockumentary Office type beat, but it was at this, like, competitive dance studio that wanted to get, like, a national title. And this actually led into my past as a competition dancer. I was a competition dancer growing up, and then when I was like 12 or 11, I switched companies and became really ballet focused, performance, concert, BFA, all that beat. So I remember this like really pulled into my past as a comp dancer. And this one I'm going to put in like the not accurate. Like, this is just like a fun kid show. You know, like, it's not that deep. You know, it's fun to, you know, see them all interact. And I believe that one of these performers actually went on to be in Tiny Pretty Things. I kind of feel like that's true. Someone might have to fact check me on that, but I think that one of them becomes, like, he was in this as a college student at Juilliard, and now he was in I don't know. He was a dancer though. But yeah, so the next step's a lot of fun. It's just kind of like a fun kid show. I enjoyed it as a kid. You know, there's dancing in it. You know, there's like drama and love triangles and who's gonna win the championship, you know. But it's, watching it back, it's all very obviously written for kids. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I'm like watching it with adult eyes now. But, you know, it's just, the point of it's not to be industry accurate. You know, and I'm not going to fault it for doing what it's supposed to do. So, yeah, I'm going to put it at the not accurate, but that doesn't make it bad. It's still fun, but it's just not really that accurate. Next, we have Bunheads. So, I didn't ever really watch Bunheads, so I'm going to kind of skip this on my list of TV shows. I've never watched it. I can read I'll read the description, though. And just out of this description, I'll kind of tell you what I might think about it. So, Bunheads tells the fish out of water story of Michelle Sims, a once promising, classically trained professional dancer who was drawn to the lights of Las Vegas, where she became a showgirl. Ooh, I like that. After she impulsively marries her persistent suitor, she moves to his sleepy California coastal town where he lives with his mother, Fanny, herself a former dancer. Fanny now runs a local dance studio. Michelle ends up bonding with some of Fanny's students after meeting them. Among the students are Boo, who struggles with her body type, Sasha, who has the talent to be a ballet dancer, but doesn't have her heart in it because of family issues, Ginny, who's not comfortable in her own skin, and Melanie, who's ready for whatever life throws at her. The students benefits from Michelle's knowledge, but she also benefits from them as they help her adapt to a small-town life. Okay, so that's, like, cute. That sounds like a cute show. It doesn't sound like it's trying to be anything accurate. It does kind of fall into those, like, dance stereotypes, like the girl who has body image issues, the girl that's like, I'm really talented, but I don't want to do this, you know. And you'll kind of find that in Dance Academy, which, surprise, surprise, is our next show. Dance Academy ran for 3 seasons, and it's set in a ballet school in Australia, and it's kind of like a Tiny Pretty Things, like a pre-professional training program. And the thing with Dance Academy is I grew up on Dance Academy. I loved it growing up. You know, you do fall into those stereotypes that are like, you know, you have Abigail, who's like the best of the best, but you later find out that she's severely struggling with an eating disorder. You have Tara, it's Tara if you're American, but they're all Australians, they call her Tara. So I've kind of, whatever. Tara, who is, you know, she's like the underdog, and she was really great back home, but now that she's in the big city, she's got to deal with not being the best anymore, and she has to work really hard. You have Sammy, who comes from a family that doesn't really understand the arts, and you have to kind of work for that. You have Christian, who is coming as, this is like his, like rehab from juvenile detention. He's like coming to this school and staying out of trouble. You have Kat, whose mother is a professional ballerina, and Kat is also very talented, but she doesn't know if she really wants to follow in her mom's footsteps. Am I missing anyone else? You have people that come in like Grace, who is like the best, but ends up like sabotaging people and like trying to like create lies and rumors about their director. You have, am I missing anyone else? I don't think so. It's a big ensemble cast. It's like 3 seasons long, you know. And again, I think this is one of those like in the middles in which like it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. And there are some accuracies. You know, you do have people that really struggle with body image. And I think having Abigail struggle with that on camera was really critical, because you were able to see the kind of slow progression. Usually when you get eating disorder stories, especially in ballet films, it's a lot of like, they skip one meal at dinner and the next day they're fainting in class. Like, and it just doesn't go like that, and it never has. You know, even in like the PSAs that you watch in health class, it's like, oh, I'm not hungry, and then you like pass out in gym class. It's like, that's not how it goes. It's not funny, but like it's funny that they think it's that trivial. But yeah, so I think one of the biggest things with this is seeing Abigail's kind of descent into it. You know, like really early on you get a comment about how she's developing. You know, they're like high school kids. I think they're like 14, 15 when they start. You know, your body's changing, all that stuff. And then a few episodes goes by and she's working really hard, and they have these exams coming up, and you see her start to make comments about other people's food choices, and you see them at lunch, and it's like how she's looking at the options at like the food court thing that they have, and like you kind of see it progress in little changes in her behavior. You see her get dizzy at a rehearsal, and then you see her call Sammy in for like a one-on-one practice because they're assessment partners. And you kind of see that change, and she gets dizzy there, and you see Sammy's like, my mom sent these cookies home, I think you need them. And she's like, yeah. And then you see her eat some of the cookies, throw them up, and throw the rest away in the bathroom after rehearsal. You know, and you see this descent, which does end in one of those like dramatic fainting scenes in front of everyone in class. But then which I think is a really important thing, is you see her deal with the repercussions of that. She has to go home over break. She's at home for the first bit of the next semester. She's in counseling at the school and not allowed to fully take class. You know, you see her work her way back up into it, and she kind of grapples with the like, do I lie to my therapist to get back to dancing type conundrum that we all feel sometimes. And that was something that really touched me watching the show growing up, and like later I would then find out that it was very not critical, but very similar to experiences that I felt. And you know, you have Sammy, whose dad doesn't approve of his dancing, and then to stay at the school, he works a bunch of jobs to prove that, you know, he's worthy of doing all this. He can do so many things, you know, he's working his ass off to be here. And that's kind of something I also feel, you know, like I do a lot, and I feel like there's a lot to prove to myself because I am chasing a dream that not a lot of people see, and I see a lot of myself in Sammy in that, you know. And you have Kat, who's like in the shadows of her ballerina mom, and she doesn't think this is really what she wants to do, and she's kind of grappling with that. And her brother Ethan, who's like becoming an esteemed choreographer, you know. And I think there are some tropes in there that are really relevant and really relevant to how we experience life as dancers, especially growing up like at that high school, early college age. A few things I didn't really like about it. You know, you get kind of, I mean, not I did like it when I was watching it, but things that kind of dock its relatability points. You know, you get a lot of, you get some like love triangle drama. You get some like, oh, we're gonna throw a party, yeah, you know, and it's like stuff like that does happen, but like for relatability, it's like we're not all partying all night. Like, calm down, it's fine. We do have care regimes as dancers. I do recommend Dance Academy though if you want like a fairly realistic but still kind of soapy drama. It is directed towards kids, but, you know, it's kind of fun. Not kids, but, like, young tweens, teens. You know, but my favorite thing about rewatching Dance Academy now is that I totally forgot that it was made in, like, the early 2010s. So they have, like, the 2010s fashion and, like, the flip phones and the camcorders. And, like, there's so many things about it, like, technology-wise, that watching it back, I was like, dude, I forgot that, like, this looks aged now, which is, like, so fun. But, yeah. I'm going to put Dance Academy, I think because it took so much care with Abigail's story, I'm going to put it in the accurate category. Obviously, there's, like, soapy drama things, but most of it I think was accurate, and I've experienced a lot of it. So I'm going to have to agree with Dance Academy. I do enjoy it. There's also a movie they made off of it, which I'm not going to include in this movie section because it is just kind of like a continuation of the story. But, yeah, they did also make a movie. Next, we have Find Me in Paris, which I have never heard of this. What is this? As a student of the Paris Opera School in the 21st century, Lena Grisky is a young ballet dancer with a secret. She has time traveled from the past. So this was made fairly recently. This was 2018. I'm going to check this out. If I had to guess, this is just kind of like a sci-fi thriller set in a ballet studio. Probably not super accurate. I might have to check this out. What are people saying about it? This looks... I'm on IMDb's, like, ballet show list, you know? So, that looks interesting. I'm gonna have to watch that tonight. Alright, next we have... Am I missing anything else? La Opera. I haven't seen this either. La Opera. Guys, I'm learning. La Opera, At the world-renowned Paris Opera, 35-year-old principal dancer Zoe struggles as her career falters, while 19-year-old Flora is eager to prove herself. Is it fictional? Yeah, it is, because they're playing characters. Okay. This looks interesting, too. I'm going to watch this. We're going to do, like, a follow-up to this where I watch the stuff I haven't seen. This looks wild. I feel very connected to the 19-year-old girl, Flora, that is eager to prove herself. That's really what I feel. Let me see if I missed anything else. Alright, no, I did not. Alright, so that is the television list shows. Let's kind of rehash what we learned. In our top section, we have Breaking Point, the Ballet West documentary series, and we have Dance Academy, the, like, childhood fun, soapy ballet school show in Australia. In the middle section, where things are accurate but dramatized, we have Tiny Pretty Things and Flesh and Bone. And then in the, like, so far the, like, not at all accurate, we have The Next Step, which is just kind of fun and silly and whatever. Okay, amazing. Moving on to ballet movies. I am the biggest ballet movies girly. I love ballet movies. Again, I am a creature of my craft. So, here are some ballet movies. We have A Ballerina's Tale. This is the Misty Copeland documentary. Obviously, top of the top, very accurate. It's a documentary. And Misty Copeland was a really big icon for me as a child because I wasn't even really able to put it into words, but I could see the change that she was making. As the first African-American principal at ABT, you know, she was doing big things. I don't think I was able to put it into words, but, like, I could feel ballet changing around me. And also, it's literally still in my bedroom at home, but I have her Time magazine cover when she's in the leotard and has, like, the point shoes and the muscles. And I remember being so excited with that Time magazine cover because I felt that ballet was represented, and I didn't have it was just like 2015. Like, I did not have the words to express this as a child, like young teenager. I was like 11, I think, when this came out. But I have her book. I love her book. I've read it like a million times, Life in Motion. But, like, that Time magazine cover was so important to me and still is, because it was like ballet is getting recognized, and that's like a strong woman on this cover, and they're recognizing the art and the sacrifice and the changes that we are making. And yeah, I could talk about this forever. I might have to make another episode, but yeah, Ballerina's Tale, Misty Copeland documentary, top tier. I believe it's on YouTube for free. Go and watch it. Next, we have First Position, which is also a documentary. I'm going to say accurate. It's a documentary. This is about YAGP, the Youth America Grand Prix. And, you know, it's just like following some dancers. This is where we get to meet Michaela DePrince? Michaela DePrince, I believe she's in this. Yeah, you know, it's just a documentary. It's kind of fun. Again, something I really connected to as a child because I was living the same life they were, you know. So yeah, documentary is always going to get top bill. So next we have Cats. Why is Cats on here? Okay, because IMDb puts Cats as a ballet movie, the 2019 one with Taylor Swift in it. I will talk about Cats. So Cats is funny, obviously, because it's Cats. It's been funny to everyone. But I'm calling Cats out for Francesca Hayward, who played Victoria the White Cat. She is a professional ballerina, I believe with Royal, maybe? I think she's with Royal. And she did a lot of great dancing for that. And obviously Taylor Swift was in it. Love Cats, but I'm going to put it in not accurate because it's not actually about ballet. But we're going to shout out Francesca for this one, but IMDb seems to think it's about ballet. All right. We are here to hear what you guys probably wanted to hear. That's not a sentence. Hold on. We are finally at the point that you all probably wanted to hear me talk about when you heard me talking about ballet in the media. We are at Natalie Portman's Black Swan. Now, before I talk about it, I have a funny story with Black Swan. So when I was like 9, I think, I was sitting at the dinner table, and some movie had just come out that my dad had taken my sisters to. And I believe it was like, it had to have been it had to have been something like sci-fi, horror, you know, something that like my sisters like, but I'm not really into. My dad had just taken my sisters to a movie, and I remember he got back, and he was like, "Tay, we should go see a movie." And I always, I don't want to get like sappy on the pod, but like, I've always felt very thankful for like the little things, you know, like that. Like, my dad loved playing Mario with my sisters growing up, and to include me, he bought me a Bratz video game. You get to dress them up and run them around and play on your little phone and take pictures for the magazine and stuff, and, you know, kind of have that video game experience with me, even if I have different interests. And I've always loved that about my dad. So shout out, Dad, if you're listening to this podcast. But yeah, so my dad was like, hey, we should go see a movie, or like rent a movie, you know, have a movie night. Because I just did that with your sisters. And my mom was like cooking or like in the kitchen, and he was like, are there any movies about ballet? And I was like, well, not out right now. And he turns to my mom and he's like, what's that Natalie Portman movie? That's about ballet, isn't it? And my mom like whips around and she's like, you are not showing our 9-year-old daughter Black Swan. And like, it's just like my favorite little moment about this movie, like just in my life. So I've actually never seen Black Swan because I boycotted it for a few reasons. One, the professional dancer that did some of Natalie Portman's dancing, like body doubling, she's a professional ballerina and she was never credited for it. So, boo on that. I mean, shit like that happens all the time in the industry, but like she really was never credited for it. And also, the bits I have seen are like very graphic, dramatized depictions of eating disorders. I believe specifically bulimia. I think there's a scene where she's like throwing up. But it's very like, it's just in bad taste. It's shrugged off. It's, you know, nothing. This wanted to be more of a thriller set in ballet rather than a ballet movie. And for the sake that they didn't credit the ballerina that did all the dancing, we're going to put this in the not accurate description. And I'm not saying it's trying to be accurate, but if that's what we're basing these movies on, she's not accurate. All right, the next ballet movie we have is Ballet 422. This is also a documentary. I'm going to put it at the top. Accurate because it's, again, a documentary. Justin Peck choreographed the 422nd original ballet for New York City Ballet. And it was so interesting. This was on Netflix for a really long time. I don't think it is anymore. I think it's on HBO Max, if y'all have that. I love this documentary. I've watched it like a million times. And it really takes you behind all the facets of the show. You know, you see choreography, costuming, makeup, hair, lighting. It's a really great documentary, and one of my favorite behind the scenes is when they're dyeing the fabric. You see them, they're like mixing it up in a pot and like washing it, and like it's just a really cool way to see all the different facets of a ballet company, and I really enjoyed it. I've seen it like a million times. But Ballet 422 is awesome. Next we have Ballet Shoes, which is Emma Watson, like as a child. And this is like one of those fictional, like eccentric explorers. Lucy Boynton's in this like a baby Lucy Boynton. That's so true. Anyways, I would say not really accurate. It's not really about, I mean, it is about ballet, but like it's not really, you know what I mean? So I would just say not accurate, but it's a fun movie. I do remember watching it as a child. Step Up. Why is Step Up in here? Dude, when I was a kid, I remember the Step Up series getting advertised during So You Think, and I remember in one of the seasons of So You Think, you could win, like whoever won got a role in like the next Step Up. And like I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm just gonna say, man, I don't know. I haven't seen a Step Up movie in forever. I don't even think I've seen all of them. Since I haven't seen them and I can't really vouch on them, I mean, I've seen like the first one, maybe the second one. Since I can't really vouch for Step Up, I'm gonna put it in the not accurate. But I do love my So You Think associated memories with Step Up. That is so funny that Step Up is on here. I can't get over that. So next up we have Ballerina, which is like this animated movie, which I might be mistaken, but wasn't this called Leap? Like L-E-A-P? Wasn't this called Leap? I don't know, dude. Again, it's animated, it's for kids. I'll put it in the middle. I saw it like once when I was like, I was babysitting or something, or like hanging out with like a child. I don't know. I think I was babysitting or like hanging out with someone, like kind of watching their kid while they got stuff done. I remember watching it. It was cute. It was fun. It's a cute little Angelina Ballerina type beat. So I'll say in the middle. I do remember there's some things that I'm like, oh yeah, that's realistic, but it's obviously it's an animated movie for kids, like it's fine. Yeah. So, oh my god, yeah. So in the middle, accurate but not perfect. Also, oh my god, Save the Last Dance. Save the Last Dance is so sweet. If you don't know Save the Last Dance, here's the IMDb description. Sarah is moved from a small Midwestern town to the south side of Chicago when her mother dies in a car accident and must live with her father. She soon falls for an African-American teenager at her new high school and has less than an idyllic past. They share a love for dance, ballet, and hip-hop respectively, and together they tackle the problems that go with an interracial relationship. I'm gonna say not that accurate. I did like Save the Last Dance. I've seen it. It was fine. Julia Stiles is in it. But it's not really about dancing. Not that, like, there's some dance scenes in there that kind of hit. Like, there's a hip-hop, if I'm not mistaken, there's a hip-hop dance scene where, like, they're out on this, like, quad, and they're, like, dance battling, and it's, like, it, like, slaps. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is this movie. It's not bad, but it's just not dance accurate. And I don't know if it was really trying to be, because it's not really about that. It's more like an interracial commentary. But it is a good movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Center Stage, dude. Center Stage. This is, once again, one of those pre-professional training school movies. Everyone has seen Center Stage. It's turning 24 years old next year. In 2000, this is a classic ballet movie. I'm going to say not accurate. There are obviously some things, like, there are pre-professional training schools and stuff, but, like, no one is driving a motorcycle on stage. No one is, like, taking over the shows like that. You know, there's everything about it is just, like, not accurate. You know, there's Marley. I believe that's her. Is her name Marley? What is her name? What is the girl's name that, like, Maureen. Marley's the girl in Glee, but yeah, Maureen. You know, you see some eating disorder struggles there. Kind of a staple in all ballet media. But, you know, it's very stereotypical ballet. And it's not a bad movie, but it's not at all realistic to how ballet looks and operates, especially today. But yeah, I'm going to put it in not realistic, but that doesn't mean it's not a good time. It's a great time laughing at it. Dancer. Now, Dancer is a little controversial. It's about Sergei Polunin. I'm American, I'm going to say Polunin. Of course known for his Take Me to Church video, but also known for being addicted to cocaine, having a tattoo of Vladimir Putin on his chest, and walking out of the Royal Ballet Theatre with no notice. It's an interesting documentary. I would say, I'm going to put it in the middle. I would say accurate, but there's, like, some flaws. Not really flaws, because it is a documentary, but, like, it's not completely about ballet. I mean, a lot of it is, because that's his life, but, you know, a lot of it does follow, you know, his family and his upbringing, and it's an interesting story. It really kind of humanizes the tortured artist archetype, you know. I'll move it up. I'll bump it up with the other documentaries. We'll call it accurate. It's a documentary. I really enjoyed it. There's some lovely dancing, some lovely footage, a lot of different opinions on this controversial dude, from different viewpoints, people who lived with him, friends. You know, it's interesting. It's not 100% like, we're making a ballet and this is it. You know, it's more like a biography. I mean, that's literally what it is. It's a biography documentary. But I think it's beautiful. I would watch Dancer. You can find it on Vimeo or Tubi. According to IMDb, you can find it on Tubi. I really enjoyed it. There's some great music in it. There's some good dancing. Spectacular dancing. But it's more of like a biography rather than like a dance film, you know. But yeah, it's lovely. Okay, next we have The Company, which this one's like low-key underrated because it like kind of slaps. So The Company, I'll read you the description. Loretta Rai Ryan is an aspiring ballerina performing with the renowned Joffrey Ballet in Chicago. As she struggles with the demands of being a dancer, she also begins a relationship with the handsome Josh, who isn't involved in the insular world. The drama looks at the lives of others in the company, including the passionate artistic director Alberto Antonelli, and features many actual Joffrey dancers. Yes, I'm so glad they included that. I was going to shout this out. This this movie features dancers that actually danced at the Joffrey at the time, and it's set at the Joffrey. I'm going to put this one in, like, oh man, I haven't seen it in so long, but, like, from what I know, I'm gonna call it accurate, but there are some dramatizations of it. But a little higher up on that half, because it does include some real dancers, and I do love that. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. I remember I watched it multiple times as, like, a child, young teenager type 10, 11. I do remember it being a good movie. But you get that drama, that, like, my boyfriend doesn't get it type beat. I do remember it being good. So we'll say mostly accurate with some inaccuracies is what we'll say about it. All right, next we have White Nights, which, if you don't know, this has Baryshnikov in it. And straight up, I'm going to put this in accurate. Baryshnikov's the star. There's so much beautiful dancing. Obviously, there's, like, more of a story to it, but I don't remember there's anything serious about that does not happen in the ballet world. That does not happen in the dance world. We're gonna put White Nights, like, at the top. It's a great movie, and Baryshnikov is so amazing. Literally so amazing. So amazing. Okay, now we have High Strung. I remember watching this on Netflix. Also, why do I feel like, is Whitney Houston in this movie? Whitney Houston, not Whitney Houston. Whitney. Who's Whitney Carlson? Who's the blonde Whitney from So You Think and Dancing with the Stars? I kind of feel like she's in this, but she's not. Okay. Why did I think she was in this? What is her name? Whitney Carlson, isn't it? Doesn't matter. She's not even in this. Anyways. Sparks fly between a young ballerina and a British violinist as they prepare for a musical competition. Obviously, you get that, like, soapy, dramatic teen movie energy. So we're putting it in the accurate, but some inaccuracies. But I do remember there's some really good training scenes, and, like, I like to see a good relationship between different art dynamics. That's always a lot of fun for me. I do enjoy that. So, yeah, it was a good movie. It was fun. There's some good dancing. There's, like, a ballet class scene that's just awesome. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Alright, so this is Reset, which I've not seen. Renowned choreographer and dancer Benjamin Millepied attempts to rejuvenate the Paris Opera Ballet in his position as director. I remember hearing about this. I didn't know that they made a movie about it. I'm gonna have to watch that. Wasn't this the man who the Paris Opera said that they were not going to put a dancer of color on their stage? I'll keep you updated. We're going to do a follow-up to this episode for sure. Ballerina. Dude. This movie, it is a documentary from 2009. You can find it on YouTube. I am convinced, not even convinced, I know this movie is the reason that I love documentaries so much. Like, this movie I watched on Netflix growing up. It's literally it's a documentary about Vaganova and the Bolshoi, and it follows all these different dancers, and I think Svetlana's in it, like a young Svetlana. There's all these famous dancers. Let's see who's in it. Diana, Alana, Avengia, Yulana, we have Svetlana. They all kind of have similar names, but Olga, yes, oh my gosh. All these beautiful ballerinas that we know and love. Diane Baker's in it. Alina Samova? That's a young Alina. Anyways, this was on Netflix. Literally changed my life. I think it's the reason I know it's the reason I love documentaries. It's beautiful. It's touching. It's it's just so good. Like, it's just so good. And it's just a documentary. Accurate, 100%. It's touching, it's human, it's beautiful. I love it. I love Ballerina. I could sing its praises every single day. Ballet Now documentary, top of the tier. Obviously, Tyler Peck, she goes to, I believe it's California. It might be in New York. I feel like she goes to California, though. Doesn't matter. She goes and she creates this ballet show that includes mimes and actors and live musicians, and it's a celebration of art called Ballet Now. And it kind of is a humanization of ballet. It is a humanization of ballet, but it's also a taking ballet into the modern age story. And if I am not mistaken, she was the first woman to curate a piece for this organization, I believe. I might have to double check on that, but I do remember that she was kind of known for this. I do remember that being kind of a big thing. Alrighty, we have so many center stages and so many step-ups. Is there anything else that I want to talk about on this list? I'll talk about Restless Creature, documentary, top of the list, of course. This is about Wendy Whelan. It's a documentary, it's good. I liked the commentary on coming to ballet after becoming a mother, like returning. That was really interesting. As someone who doesn't really want to be a mother, you know, it was interesting. I enjoyed it, you know, a lot of ballet. You know, you get a lot of accuracy in ballet movies. Obviously, a lot of documentaries, you know, the glitz and the glam. Again, going back to Marquee TV, I think I'm going to try that out, and that'll be, like, the second episode to this. Maybe it's a sequel to this episode. But, there was some really good insight in there. I think with ballet, particularly in dance, you get a lot more realism in the movies because you can get some documentaries. But then I think, like, the soapy, not so realistic kind of comes into the television shows. Like a network television follow along type energy. But yeah, let's move on to books. This is our last category. And something I'm really passionate about because I grew up reading books about ballet for real. So let's move into books. I am just on the Google what to read ballet books section. And I thumbed through it before this, and there's a few I'm going to skip because I know nothing about. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that I know. So, A Company of Swans I have read. Here's the little synopsis. A Company of Swans is a sweeping tale of romance, freedom, and beauty of dance from award-winning author Eva Ibbotson. Weekly ballet classes are Harriet Morton's only escape from her intolerably dull life. So when she is chosen to join the Corps de Ballet, which is setting off a tour of Amazon, she leaps at the chance to run away for good. There are some things about this that I really enjoy. There's some history in it, some ballet history. There's some romance. You know, obviously it's not it's not all about ballet, so I'm going to put accurate with some inaccuracies. You know, it's not perfect, but there are some good things about it, I would say. I remember I enjoyed it. It was fun. There's a touch of ballet. All good things. I would say it's good. It was good. Okay. What is next? Painted Girls. I've read Painted Girls. Painted Girls is his father dies and the girls go on to become the dancers that are Degas' muses. And I really like that historical thing because obviously Degas is known for his ballet paintings, kind of humanized the girls in them. I really liked that. But, you know, there is kind of a... That's kind of more historical, where, like, this just, like, happens, you know? It's an interesting tale. I would say not really accurate, because obviously it's not, like, training for ballet. I've not experienced being a ballet model for a famous painter. But, you know, whatever. Life in Motion, Misty Copeland, biography, right at the top. Such a good book. So good. Apollo's Angels, great book. Top of the list. It's like a history of ballet. Really enjoyed it. And it's very, like, it's thorough, but it's, it mentions the, how do I put it? The, injustices that are seen in ballet a lot of the time. And there's a lot of, you know, it acknowledges the fact that ballet needs to change, which has been really nice. It's always very nice to see, because having people in the industry acknowledge that ballet needs to change is where it needs to start, of course. Winter Season is I believe it's like, part of me wants to say that it's a memoir. Yes, it is a memoir. An irresistible inside look at one of the world's greatest dance companies, Winter Season is a sensitive, intimate, and painfully honest account of the emotional and intellectual development of a young woman dedicated to one of the most demanding of arts. So this is about City Ballet and SAB. I believe we're in the 80s, and yeah, I don't remember much about it, but it's a memoir, so I'm gonna say that it's accurate. I remember it being good. Here's what I wanted to talk about to the books about. This is Turning Point. I'm gonna give you the full title. This is Turning Point, How a New Generation of Dancers is Saving Ballet from Itself. This is by Chloe Angel. She is Australian, but out of Iowa now. This is one of the best books I've ever read. This book is amazing. She comes, Chloe has interviewed people, current dancers, past dancers, directors, actors that have been in dance movies, like all this kind of stuff that's come around. And we're talking about so many problems in ballet. We're talking about class struggle. It lists them for me. Let's hear about it. Power imbalances between men and women, even though it's a female-dominated industry. Standards of beauty and thinness, racism, rigid traditions, class structures, all this crazy things that need to change in ballet. We're talking about in this book, and it's so insightful, and it's so beautiful, and it's so touching, and literally every single person needs to read Turning Point. And this isn't just because I like this isn't just because I love the author. Like, it's a good book. It is a good book. So next we have The Cranes Dance, which I remember reading at school. This book's about, like, if I remember, it's a girl at NYCB. She gets injured. Her sister goes on, I think. Let me see. Kate Crane, a soloist at New York City Ballet, struggling to keep her place in the company. She confronts a tangle of love, jealousy, pride, and obsession. Funny, dark, intimate, and unflinchingly honest. I think it's just kind of one of those things that, like, it's fiction, but it has some real life influence. I'm gonna put that one in the middle, kind of like there's real life influence, but it's not perfect. A lot of ballet memoirs are really great. Here's the Tiny Pretty Things book. I liked the book more because it focused more on the ballet and less about Cassie's murder, but that's just my thing. You know that Netflix is going to want some juicy drama for their show, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was the kind of, like, really focused on the ballet training, and you could see different sacrifices in there. And obviously there's still that, like, Cassie died and we're backstabbing each other, and it's all very moody and dramatic. But of course, so I'm going to put it again in the same kind of place, but I do think if you want to hear the same kind of middle, like, accurate, but there's some inaccuracies, I think if you want more ballet focus, I think that the book is better. There's also a sequel. There's Shiny Broken Pieces? Shiny Broken Things? I think it's Shiny Broken Pieces, which was good. The first one was better, though. Okay, no. This is the last one I'm going to talk about today for the books. But the Royal Ballet School Diaries, let me not miscredit this, because this was so silly. Okay, so the Royal Ballet School Diaries is a book for children. It's like a series, right? Think like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but like ballet. It's literally about this girl who goes to the Royal Ballet School and, like, meets all her friends and writes this diary, and it's like the book, right? And I remember my grandparents, that when they were in Lake St. Louis, lived by a library, and we would go, and my grandparents would take me, like, all the time, and we would go get the next book in the series, and I would just eat it up. And I can't assume it's that accurate. I haven't read it since I was a child, but there are a lot of good memories associated with that one, and it was a really great introduction for, I think, kids in ballet. It made it really tasteful, and you got kind of like the magic of it all. I will close on Royal Ballet School Diaries because that was a really good book series for me as a kid. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember my grandparents would always be like, "You ready to read the next one?" And we would read them, and it would be like a whole thing. Those are really underrated. We need to be talking about those more in the ballet community. But lastly, we'll talk about my book. I am currently working on getting my book published. All summer I spent writing a novel called Her Skin, His Bone. Nope. Yes. Her Skin, His Bones. So all summer I spent writing a novel called Her Skin, His Bones, and it follows Sterling Gallagher and Dimitri Tucker, two dancers at a fictional college in their Bachelor of Fine Arts dance program. And in the program, they are under the direction of the famed choreographer and director Alexander Mooney. And they're obviously there to be stars and chase their dreams. And we see Sterling get offered a major scholarship. She's been working her ass off, and when Alexander uses his power imbalance to coerce her into some not so great dynamics, you know, you see there's sexual assault, there's manipulation, there's blackmail, but in a way that's very realistic, because it's stuff that does happen in this industry. You know, he uses this big scholarship that's going to change her life in the course of her education to really influence and fluctuate that power imbalance that's already there. Something I'm really proud of is Dimitri's struggle with his eating disorder, seeing men in ballet having body image issues is something that's not talked about enough, even though that these are illnesses that do not discriminate between men or women. And that's something I'm really proud of, having that male mental health, especially in ballet, that male mental health representation. And I feel like there's so many men out there, both in and outside of the arts, that are struggling, and they just don't feel like it's manly. You know, like, anorexia is a women's disease, and it's not. It doesn't discriminate, you know. And that was something I really held to. I was like, it needs to happen like this, because I want my book, and I wrote it accurately and from my heart and from my experiences and what I've seen and what I've learned and what I've heard. And I want this book, if it does anything ever, if it even ever gets published, I want it to encourage other dancers to speak up, to use their voice, to keep themselves safe and keep themselves accountable, and I want it to propel change in the industry. You know, we see in the book, we see how the students react to this news, how the press reacts to this news, how different families and stuff, and it's been really important to me to write an accurate book because I have always longed for accurate ballet representation, especially in fiction. This is a fictional story, and as we saw in today's ranking, all of the really accurate things were nonfiction, which is great. Obviously, you want your nonfiction to be accurate, but I've always longed for like truly accurate fiction that is touching and sensitive and takes these hard struggles that we deal with as dancers, especially in a BFA program in pre-professional world, and takes them with care and honesty. And I made sure to really balance this book with the lowest lows that I've heard, experienced, and known about, as well as the highest highs. You know, getting cast in shows you've always dreamed of, and moving into your own apartment, and all these amazing things, and really chasing your dreams. And I didn't shy away from the difficult work that it takes to get to that point. You know, we see our characters working multiple jobs. We see them staying up late to get their homework done. And I was really passionate when I started this project to write an accurate portrayal of my life in my BFA program, and an accurate portrayal of the injustices that happen in the ballet world, as well as the dance world, the higher education world. It is, especially the power imbalances between men and women, director and dancer, you know, all of that. It's all very important to me that this book comes off accurate. And it's accurate to me, it's accurate to my experiences, my knowledge, and I'm rambling on. But yeah, I wanted to show my book out at the end. I'm working on querying it out, getting it published, hopefully getting it published in the next few years. So yeah, I think that wraps up our ballet in the media conversation. Thank you so much for joining along on the podcast today. As always, the video version of the podcast comes out on YouTube on Tuesdays, and the audio version comes out on Spotify on Wednesdays. You can follow the podcast at BFA Baby Podcast on Instagram, and you can follow me at Tata's Ballet periods between words on Instagram and TikTok. Also, if you would really like to send any input about the podcast, totally feel free to send me a DM or a comment on Instagram. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you want to see. I'm always open to information, thoughts, comments, concerns, anything. Thank you for following along with this conversation, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah!